bleed out and not degrade to gray. And a crooked timber keep me warm and safe. Bells toll slowly like dark iron. Can't see where I am, and I don't know where this is going, and I don't understand. It's a crooked timber, steer me, keep me sane. Time's attrition grinds these landscapes, shifts them into shape, and my resistance to its pressure buckles more each day. It's a crooked timber, really keep me sane. And it's a crooked timber, I want you keep me sane. My shade will comfort you. 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 My shade will comfort you.
Andy, Michael, welcome to MBTV.
Thank you.
If I could just start by asking Andy about a somewhat disturbing rumour I've heard, and this might not be true at all. I hear that you're a Chelsea season ticket holder.
I am. I've been for years. Yes, since I got my first season ticket in 1994, and I've had one ever since.
Okay, and big match tonight now.
I know.
What do you reckon?
I think it's going to be really tough. I think as long as we get an early goal, if we do even get an early goal. But I mean, 5 wins in a row with Hiddink, and which I'm very impressed at, because I kind of was hoping we'd maybe get Steve Clarke back into the fold. And, but I'll be watching tonight. Anyway, I'm staying at my folks' house tonight, and they've got like the channel that's showing it. So.
Okay. Well, obviously, I can't talk all about football. You've got a new record coming out, Crooked Timber. It's an album with a lot of sort of big ideas and big sounds, and really pushing and experimenting. If I can just start by asking you about the actual title, Crooked Timber, taken from a quote by Immanuel Kant.
Right.
What was it about that was so sort of resonant that you wanted to call the record that?
Well, to be honest, we had the song written. The Crooked Timber song itself was written way before we got an album title. And I just, whenever I first, I mean, I got it into indirectly through Samuel Beckett, because I'm a great fan of Samuel Beckett, and his work is opaque enough at the best of times. So I went to study a little bit of it, and a lot of the stuff he'd written in the 50s was inspired by philosophy and psychology. And Kant was one of the names that came up when I was reading about it. And then I was just kind of like Bluffer's Guide to Kant, more or less. I came across this quote, and it's from the Crooked Timber of Humanity, no straight thing was ever made. And I actually found that quite a fantastic quote. I thought it's like almost like saying, well, you are what you are, and as human beings are, what resonated with me is that you kind of, the hand that you're given, people will always find a way to get on. You know, the human race as such has dealt with an awful lot of misery and blows over all the centuries. And I thought that was quite good. And it also fit it in with the kind of, I suppose this is, for want of a word, probably the midlife crisis record. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, and that really struck a chord with me about just the fact that no matter what happens, you always somehow manage to get on.
And sort of talking about that, and whatever hand you're dealt, you find a way to cope and deal with that. Enjoy the struggle as well.
Yeah.
It's about sort of embracing life, and all its challenges.
Yeah.
And you seem to be really embracing the creative challenges on this record in terms of sound. You don't want to just regurgitate and retread what you've done before. Is that a very conscious thing that you sort of set out to do something different each time?
Well, certainly with this record, it was really conscious that we had to kind of do something slightly off the path for us. Probably because of the fact that when we've been around so long, and I think every now and then we do need to shake ourselves up. Because we signed the record deal with a new company over a year before we did the album. And I think we kind of realised that if we just rushed in and didn't really think it through properly. So I mean, to go away and sort of have a few ideas, and whenever we got together to do the album, we kind of the interesting thing about this record, which I really, really enjoyed in the process of it, was that everything was done from the ground up when we were in the rehearsal room. There was no kind of three-quarter finished songs brought in, or I didn't bring in like a chord progression and some lyrics, or Michael didn't bring in like a lot of riffs. And we kind of went in and we just started with what we had that day, and we worked on it, and we worked on it all day, and we put some lyrics on it as well, which things like Enjoy the Struggle that you mentioned, it came from talking about the myth of Sisyphus, the guy condemned to push a rock up a hill. And but little things like trying to make the riff sound as if it's fallen back in itself. So da-da-da, da-da-da. And that was a challenge for us. I mean, without it sounding pretentious, it just meant that with us it was brilliant fun to do. Because when you're sort of saying, well, how do we make this riff sound as if it's collapsing in itself? And it's a really simple thing. But whenever you actually put that bit of effort into it, the dividends are greater, I think, in the long run.
And I read you sort of describe the process of making this record. You gave yourselves a time to write and record. Historically, is that always the way you've worked, that you've given yourself the time, or have you sort of had to work more quickly on previous records?
I think it sort of depends on the record. I think prior to this particular album, we were quite concerned about getting in there, capturing the moment, capturing the energy. Whereas with this one, we gave ourselves the luxury of being able to go back and re-listen to stuff and try things a different way. But it was good in that respect. We could revisit certain ideas and develop certain things that maybe when we wrote them weren't fully developed, and sort of get that. The songs moved quite a bit from the original rehearsals.
I stare into space. They start dying star doesn't care who you are. These exiles that we are, isolated on a distant dying star. You come and you go like a ghost close to me, a silent afterglow lifts you close, comforts me. These exiles that we are, isolated on a distant dying star. These exiles that we are, isolated on a distant dying star. These exiles that we are, isolated on a distant dying star.
You work with Andy Gill, obviously. Why did you choose to work with him? Obviously, he's an iconic figure, and Gang of Four, and his sort of legacy. But why did you think he would sort of work well with Therapy, and what did he actually bring to the process?
Well, I think with Andy Gill, we'd always, well, I mean, I'm a massive Killing Joke fan, and he'd done a really, really great Killing Joke record in 2003, which I absolutely loved. And, I was a fan of Gang of Four anyway. I loved his guitar style. And if you listen back to some of our early records, especially on the Nurse album, some of the guitar styles very like Andy Gill, tracks like Deep Sleep and stuff like that. And with what I think we wanted to bring back, and he thought the same thing actually when we met him, was that because the record was more to do with rhythms and it wasn't singer-songwritery, verse, chorus, middle eight. And when we sent him the stuff, he agreed. He thought, because he was very familiar with the band, and he likes the kind of period of the band when the grooves were really prominent. There was a big booming, dirty bass sound, really high snare sound, and like that. He loved all that, and he wanted to bring that back. And I think because he's really, really good with kind of ideas, and he's there's a couple of things that would work. He had a couple of ideas, like singing in my own accent as much as possible, so I didn't kind of go across the Atlantic. Making sure the bass and the drums sounded amazing. And also, one of the things that got lost with Therapy was when we started out, we were a rock band, but we'd slightly got our own agenda. We'd short hair in the middle of the Guns N' Roses stuff, and we weren't a grunge band and everything like this. And there was one bit we were doing a track on the album Magic Mountain, and what was it he said? The track it's an 8-minute long instrumental, 10-minute long instrumental, and it builds and it builds and it builds. And towards the end, I was putting on a layer of guitar, and I kind of hit this huge big off distortion pedal, And he went, no, we've come this far without going all sweet child of mine. Let's not do it now. Which is, and that kind of summed up this kind of ethos really to work in. It was like, it was a great deal of restraint in certain areas, and that helped us with our confidence. That doesn't all have to be kind of four to the floor and blazing. You can kind of do it with a great deal of kind of restraint.
Yeah, and you sort of talked there about there is that 10-minute instrumental opus, Magic Mountain, and just in terms of the reference points for the music, I mean Charles Mingus, which people wouldn't think maybe a band like Therapy that would be.
Well, you see, that's one thing that always surprises me, because if anyone knows our first album, Baby Teeth, in 1991, there's a track on there called Loser Cop, which is influenced by John Zorn, and we've got like Keith Thompson playing like Ornette Coleman style saxophone on it. So like people say to me now, Charles Mingus, and we go, well, on Suicide Pact in 1999 with a track called He's Not That Kind of Girl, which was like a kind of George Benson type riff as well, and it's something that's always been there. I think what it means is probably during the band's, for want of a better expression, commercial peak, we were kind of known as kind of melodic punk metal. So maybe people have kind of overlooked some of the stuff that we've done. But the reference point, it's important, I think, to take references from outside. I mean, we are a rock band, that's the instruments we use. The methods we use to push air through the speakers are of a rock background. But the reference points have always been bizarre. Like, I mean, that we would take stuff on this record from dubstep. Like, there's a track called Bad Excuse for Daylight, which is like based on a kind of benga pattern. And there's also other bits, like the track Exiles is completely like kind of Code 9 and Cult of the 13th Hour kind of drum pattern, with sort of some of the sonics that we get from this. I mean, it's all done on guitar, so it's not going to sound like a dubstep record. But that's the fun of it. I think if as a guitar player, I love listening to electronic music and listening to things like a couple of chord patterns Stravinsky will use, and maybe take little bits of that, as opposed to listening to Slash and Angus Young and all. Not that there's anything wrong with those people, but I think I'd rather kind of do something which is slightly unusual. I mean, I haven't said that. The record is like it's not exactly Unsane or Oxbow or Hair Police. I mean, it's still in the same ballpark as rock.
Yeah. But is that part of the whole sort of fun of it, and what keeps it interesting for you? Sort of bringing in these disparate influences and.
Well, it has to be, really. Otherwise, I think we'd all get cheesed off a long time ago, really.
Because I can think of nothing worse. Like we often, we're talking about doing a tour and picking support bands and things like that. The worst thing I could imagine is two bands on before us that sound like Therapy. Because what's that going to give to the overall vibe? And we've done loads of gigs. You'll meet lads and all wearing Slayer t-shirts. The band sounds like Slayer, and you go into their dressing room and they're listening to Slayer, and I'm going, well, Slayer are still going and they're great. So, what have they got to get out of it? But I think with us, we're quite, you need that sort of freshness to it. To me, the hellish day would be listening to rock music all day. You need to break up a wee bit,
And are you looking forward to sort of getting out and bringing the new album out in the road and touring?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this one more than I'm looking forward to getting the rehearsals, getting the songs right, and I think touring this record is the most excited I've been for quite a long time, because I think we'll be able to play a lot of this record in our set, and to be honest, if I'm totally 100% honest, I'm totally cheesed off for the first time ever and playing quite a lot of the old songs. And I think with this album, it's kind of made us reevaluate a lot of our other older stuff. So maybe some of the older stuff we will play will be slightly different. Obviously, I realise that, at the end of the day, whether I like it or not, and it can be as, judgmental as it can be, at the end of the day, we are entertainers. Whether you're in Hair Police or, Oxbow, or whether you're Robbie Williams, at the end of the day, people will want to see certain things, and we like playing those things because it's a great feeling. So I think this album will be very, very well represented, and then we'll pick the rest of the set accordingly.
Well, we saw you live last night at the Ulster Hall, sort of the housewarming since it's been sort of renovated. I think you used up Rudy Walters' quota of expletives for the calendar year there.
And I knew how I knew that as well, because I knew sort of like I got a bit carried away in the moment, and ironically, there's not any expletives on our new album. And I was transported back to 10 years ago. But I knew that I'd used them because my mum was still up when I got home at 1:30 in the morning. And I knew that she wasn't happy because she couldn't go to the gigs, so she'd listen to it on the radio. And then, like, you know, we've had various texts about it. I don't know. I actually feel a bit ridiculous now. I'm a 43-year-old man. I shouldn't be going on stage in front of 2,000 people and go bah, 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 bah. But when you've got like 4,000 watts of power behind you, it's a different story. I kissed a man's feet and shot him dead. I didn't like his face or what he said. Saw a movie and then finally cried. He went skyward, skyward. It took a hammer to shape his mind. Time after time as he closed his eyes, he saw it all just wasting right 10 years. He went skyward, skyward every single day. I'm feeling just like before every single day. I'm feeling just like before every single day. I feel it coming down. He went skyward, skyward. And also done me with my last breath. And take the last and kiss, there's nothing left. And you watch it all just wasting right 10 years. You went skyward, 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 skyward.
I mean, therapy started must be 20 years ago now.
It's 20 years next year, yeah.
Yeah, you know, nigh on 2 decades.
Yeah.
I'm sort of looking back at, you know, the progress like Northern Irish
Yeah.
music has made. You know, at the moment we like to think we're, you know, living in the most sort of vibrant time for
Oh,
Northern Irish
completely,
music.
yeah.
Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Oh, completely. I mean, like the setup here and everything. You know, you've got the magazines. I mean, we've got a press officer in the north. We've never had a press officer in the 19 years we've been together in the north. We have one now because there's so much media to deal with. You got great bands. You got record labels. You know, websites. People doing remixes for international artists. You've got household names. You know, bands that don't just sell thousands of records. Bands that sell millions of records come from this area. And you know, it's I think it's a fantastic. I think I completely agree with you. I was talking to a couple of people last night that what got me into music actually was the last vibrant period in Northern Irish music when I was about 13. It was the punk scene, and I remember kids at school talking about Stiff Little Fingers, The Undertones, Rudy, Protex, and like these were all local bands. And then there was that Good Vibes night at the Ulster Hall where John Peel compared it, and it made national television. And really, you know, that was, everyone was talking about it, and it, you know, Rudy were on nationwide at 6 o'clock in the evening on, you know, national television. So this time is, I mean, this is the nearest I've seen it. I've just seen a lot of vibrant, creative people and so many good bands. And the thing about it is as well, I think there's, I mean, I might be wrong, but the sense I'm getting is everyone's very, very proud of the scene and proud of supporting, you know, the ethics that go behind it, which certainly when we started wasn't the case. I mean, whenever we started, because there was so few venues, people would have shot you to get on ahead of you as a support slot. Whereas now everyone kind of seems to look out for each other, which is great.
And if I just finally can ask, I mean, how do you think you guys have changed over those 20 years?
You know what? I don't even know because I never think that we've been around 20 years. I still think I'm 24. Honestly, I mean, it's like, you know, I kind of it was only the other day I went to pick my son up from school, and my son, like, obviously he thinks what I do is no big deal. He just, like, you know, he's no interest really, and he says there's a well-known rock magazine in England, and his teacher said, I saw your dad in that well-known rock magazine. And I went, what? And so, you know, it was the first time the teacher said it to me. So the first thing I did was check that there was no mention of drugs or expletives or anything like that. You know, I didn't want to be having a card marked. but you know, I think things have changed outside. We just get on with what we do. You know what I mean? We just kind of.
Yeah, I always feel like Andy said, there's always so much to do and things you want to do, and with each record, you learn a bit more about what you like doing as a band and as artists. So we're always kind of. It's not like we like to sit about and go, yeah, 1994, great, yeah, brilliant. You know what I mean? We're always looking to the future. We don't really look back that much, and I think that's important for a band or any artist, I think. You know, the next thing is the most exciting thing.